Welcome to this third and last video of EuroTechPostdoc2 Explained. My name is Ingrid Vliegen and I'm the Program Manager of EuroTechPostdoc2. During the first two videos, I told you about the program in general and about the review process and the evaluation criteria that we are using. Today, I will show you through the online portal that we are using for our application process. To access the portal, you can use the link provided on our website, and that is now also visible on the screen. When you click the link provided, you end up in our login and registration screen. If this is the first time you access our application portal, you need to register. Registration is straightforward. You enter your name and your email address and you choose a password. After registration, you can log into the system right away. The first time you enter the application portal, you end up at the information page. Here you can find some general information and the link to our website. And also here you can start your application. If you do so, you go to the application page. This is also the place where you will enter every next time you enter our system. And here you can actually start your application. So let me now start with the first page, the page on the eligibility criteria. Here we check the two most important eligibility criteria. The first one is whether you have your PhD degree or have at least 4 years of full-time equivalent research experience. And the second one is whether you fulfill the Marie Curie transnational mobility rules. Let me start with this mobility check. The mobility rules only need to apply for the country of your host institution, so that's the first thing you need to select here. After you select one of our host institutions, two more questions will show up. The first question will ask you to confirm that you have not lived for more than 12 months, in this case in France, in the 3 years prior to the deadline of the call. The second question will ask a similar thing but will ask you about your main activities in this period. Suppose you can answer yes to both of these questions and then you can just move on with the application. The next thing we're asking then is to give information and details on the country of residence in the past 3 years and the country of main activity in the past 3 years. Make sure that you give us all the information and are not missing out on any of the dates. You can add as many entries here as needed. And now suppose you had to answer no to one or both of these questions. This means that in principle you would not be eligible to apply to our program. But there is a few exceptions possible. You can have an exception because of compulsory national service or time spent on procedures for obtaining refugee status. Special this year is that you can also ask for an exception because of the COVID-19 pandemic. In case you think you qualify for one of these exceptions, please contact us, the EuroTechPostdoc2 Program Management Office, as soon as possible to discuss your case. In case you think you would qualify for this exception, you can enter yes here and upload proof. If you have to answer no here, then the system will tell you that you are not eligible, and then also the rest of the application is blocked and you cannot proceed. But now suppose you do fulfill the mobility rule. Then the next thing we check is whether you indeed have enough research experience to apply to the program. If you do have your PhD degree, you can answer yes here, give the date of your PhD and upload proof. If you do not have your PhD, you have to answer no here and we ask you whether you have 4 years of full-time equivalent research experience. If this is the case, again, you have to upload proof here using the templates provided. If you have to answer no here, again, the system will tell you that you're not eligible and you cannot continue. The next page is the page on the personal details. Some details are already copied from your registration form. If you want to edit those, you have to go to your profile and edit them there. The rest is pretty straightforward, so we need some personal details, contact details, and we want to know what your current institution is. The next page is the project overview page. Before I go into the details, please note that some of the fields are highlighted in red. This is because I visited this page before and I did not include all of the information, also not of these mandatory fields. So this is the way of the system telling me that I still have to include this information before submission. The first few fields here are giving us information to find reviewers for your proposal. The first thing you need to add is the project title, and secondly, the research area or evaluation panel that best fits your proposal. For this, you can select from the following list, which is the same list as you can see within Marie Curie programs within Horizon 2020. Also, you need to include your abstract here. The same abstract is also included in your research proposal. And you can enter up to 5 keywords representing your proposal. A combination of these 4 fields will give us insight in finding the best reviewers for your proposal. So choose wisely what keywords to include and how to write down your abstract. The next thing you need to do on this page is to fill in information on your host supervisor and your co-host supervisor. I included my own personal details here because I need to have something filled in here for later on. But of course, this is not possible for yourself. You have to make sure to include a host supervisor from one university and a co-host supervisor from another EuroTech university. Please note that the university of your host supervisor is already pre-filled. If you want to make changes to this, you need to do that at the eligibility page, and you also need to update the questions on mobility there. You can also choose the research department of your host supervisor from the list provided here as well. For the host supervisor's email address, make sure that you include an email address from one of the EuroTech universities. A second thing I'm doing here, which you shouldn't do in your application, is that I provide the same name for my host supervisor and for my co-host supervisor. Of course, you have to have 2 different people willing to supervise you. The reason I include information here is that as soon as you do that, we will have this checkbox coming up. In this checkbox, you authorize us, the PMO, to notify your intended host and co-host supervisors of your intention to submit to the EuroTechPostdoc2 program. This is a way of us to ensuring that you indeed have been in contact with your supervisor. The moment you click yes here, an email will be sent to them to give them information on this. The last thing you need to include on this page is the question whether your proposal includes additional collaboration partners. If yes, then you can give us the details here. If no, then you can move on to the next page. On the next page, you have to upload the project details. So this is the project description, the CV, the ethics self-assessment, and the motivational letter. A few things you need to consider here. First of all, use the templates that we provide. Secondly, you need to provide us with PDF files. No other formats are accepted. And finally, there is a maximum number of pages for the research plan and the motivational letter. On the next page, you'll find a questionnaire, which is non-mandatory and does not influence the evaluation of your application in any way. However, we would highly appreciate it if you take the time to answer our questions. The first question relates to the focus areas of the EuroTech University Alliance. The second thing we are interested in is communication. The last thing we are interested in is your intended starting date. In case you would be accepted to the program, the latest starting date would be February 1st, 2022. But of course, you can also start sooner. Note that this date is not binding and in no way influences the review of your application. And finally, you end up at the submission page. If you have filled in all of the details in the previous pages, you can here press the submit button. Please note that you're only allowed to start and submit one application, so make sure that you entered all the correct information and uploaded the right files. If you're missing out on one of the mandatory fields, as is the case here, actually for all of my pages, then you are not allowed to submit your application. And you will get a message that your application could not be submitted. If you did fill in all the details, you will receive an email confirming your submission, and afterwards you can download your application PDF from the system. Then there are two final things that I want to show you. The first one is the conversation page. Here you can see all the emails that we sent from the EuroTechPostdoc2 email address to you as an applicant. Another thing is if you go to the application page, before you could start your application here, but now you can look at the details of your application. So this concludes the EuroTechPostdoc2 Explained video series. I hope the videos have been useful for you and can help you in preparing your application. If you have any remaining questions, please refer to the frequently asked questions on our website or send us an email. Good luck with your applications, and I hope to see them all in February.